big part in American history was World War II. America played a big role in this two-theater war by opening up a second front in Europe in 1944 and also by defeating Japan. However, since 1939, the war has been going on east of Germany. Mainna Medoyeva, my great-grandmother, was in the USSR during the war. A future immigrant to the USA, she remembers clearly the war and all of its effect on the people. She was born in 1924 and lived in Russia during World War II. She witnessed not only the beginning and end of the war, but also life during the war. She was born in Sevastopol, but moved to Kharkov before the war started for economic reasons. When the war started, the people living there didn't realize how close and serious it was, but soon they had to evacuate their homes and move further east. They evacuated only 3 months after the war started. She left Kharkov in September. She left with her mom, her aunt, and her aunt's son.
Бежали с Харькова одним из последних эшелонов. Мы очень с большим трудом попали в этот эшелон. Мы садились в теплушку, несколько семей. И когда мы выезжали, уже нас догоняли все время бомбардировки.
Hitler had already been attacking Russia for 3 months before my great-grandmother evacuated from Kharkov. The German army was using blitzkrieg warfare and was quickly pushing the Eastern Front further and further to the right. Using Operation Barbarossa, Hitler planned to win the war very quickly. But the plan went slower than planned because of the cruel Russian winter. This war used the largest amount of forces at one time in all human history, and it also had the most casualties. Using superior aircraft and tanks, the Germans quickly beat down the USSR's older and outdated models. The German army was split in army groups North, Center, and South. Army Group North was responsible for the siege of Leningrad. Army Group Center pushed towards Minsk in order to deny Soviet escape. However, the Red Army kept fighting inside the pocket, and through strategic retreat, 100,000 men in 10 days escaped further west. The Soviets lost the battle, but they won the campaign because German forces were redirected from the offensive on Moscow and delayed Operation Barbarossa. Furthermore, German casualties exceeded even the critics' estimates. Nevertheless, World War II also targeted civilians and escape was difficult. Blitzkrieg warfare made this war have many civilian casualties. In order to respond to this crushing war tactics, boys who weren't even 18 years old were sent to the front to fight in the war.
Были брошенные бомбы. К счастью, в наш эшелон бомба не попала. И мы миновали эту зону, а потом наш эшелон отправили на Урал, в город Магнитогорск.
The evacuated people didn't know where they were going until they arrived there. There were always sounds of war and black skies above the fleeing people. To take safety precautions, civilians mined the land behind them in case German troops were in pursuit. The main threat, however, was the Luftwaffe. As my grandmother said, they were always bombed being dropped near them by the German Air Force. The good news was that in the USSR, all the people were friends, so when the evacuees arrived to their new homes, they were treated with sympathy and respect instead of having people look down on them as inferiors. After the evacuation was complete, my great-grandmother and her mother moved to Kazakhstan in order for my great-grandmother to finish school. In Kazakhstan, life was hard and they were very poor. They lived in a cramped apartment there.
Едой было очень плохо, даже не сказать плохо, а ужасно плохо. Люди голодали, это самым настоящим образом. На те карточки, которые получала семья, где было 3-4 детей, где были престарелые родители, трудом делили эту хлебную пайку. Никаких продуктов не было. Продукты были очень лимитированы. Варили, даже ходили, собирали всякие там травы, которые были безвредные, и из этих трав варили еду.
The cards were in fact bread cards, which gave a family bread for a day. At some times, Mainna recalls, the only food that person received for the whole day was 100 grams of bread. This is a very small amount of bread. 100 grams is about one slice of white bread. That means that in a whole day, one would eat less than a small sandwich. Depending on the location, people were served different amounts of food. For example, in Kazakhstan, people were served 200 grams a day, while during the siege of Leningrad, people only got 100 grams of bread a day. As she recalls, a big reason that food was so scarce that all the farms and food factories were changed into war factories to make a complete war effort.
Заводы многие были эвакуированы из мест, оккупированных немцами. Быстро перебазировались на Урал, в Казахстан, в другие республики. И эти заводы восстанавливались, и они производили и танки, и оружие.
The war effort in Russia during World War II was similar to what we saw in Japan. Like in Japan, everyone was part of the war and everyone felt like they were helping the war out. Young boys went to the front while girls worked in factories. There is no sense of inferior superior in different countries. There is no alienation of refugees in new places where they arrived. Using blitzkrieg, war tactics, and lies, Germany got very close to Moscow and to winning the war. But because of the people's efforts, there were enough tanks and weaponry made to push the Germans back. Closer to the end of the war, Russia had a lot of food support from England and the United States. Another way that the United States helped out in the last years of the war was by opening a second front from the west of Germany, which diverted some German forces from the Eastern Front.